you guys, it is me, Laura. I'm a homeschooling mom to 3 kids, ages 3, 8, and 10, and today I am finally answering the questions that you have for me. I am also sporting some sunglasses today. I don't usually like to wear these when I am filming, but I have been battling a migraine the past few days, and this is helping me be able to function today, so that is why I have them on. So I asked a little while back for questions over on Instagram and also on my YouTube community channel, but then things kind of got crazy, but things are settling down again, and now I am able to answer these questions that you have for me. So the first question I got says, what does your first day of school look like? And the reality is we do not have a first day of school. We are year-round homeschoolers in the absolute truest sense. There's not a point at which we necessarily switch over all of our curriculum for the year. I mean, a lot of times we end up finishing things close to the same time, and I will order a lot of things at the same time to save on shipping, but we do not have one place in which we start or stop. What we do, however, is whenever my kids finish a workbook or they finish a level, we'll celebrate, and I will give them a few days to a week off of that subject before they start the new level, unless they're just raring to go and ready to dive right in. And also, with this new unit study approach that we've been doing, we generally have a few light days or take a few days off in between each unit study, and then when we come back, it's almost like a new day of school every, I don't know, 6 weeks, give or take a few weeks. And when we come back, we talk about all the fun stuff we're going to be doing in the unit. We look at all our new morning basket stuff, all our new books. We talk about things that we want to learn. I hear from the kids, and so there's that kind of sense of the way things go, but we don't have a back to school day. Do your kids ever complain about school? Absolutely, they complain about school daily. I think some kids are more schooly than others. I do not have kids that are particularly schooly. Me as a child, I loved school. I complained because I was in 6th grade and I didn't have homework yet, so I'd make up my own homework for myself. So, yikes, almost lost the camera. So it's very different, very different personalities, but my kids, it's not even so much school. They don't like, once they get going, they do well. They don't like transitioning activities. They don't like having to stop what they're enjoying doing and transition to doing something else. But once they're actually doing their work, they're usually pretty good. But yeah, there is complaining in my house a lot. What is your testimony? So I'm not exactly sure what this question is asking, because I know that that means different things to different people, but I will do my best to answer it. I don't have a particular conversion story or conversion moment in my life. As far back as I can remember, I have been very interested in pursuing my friendship with Jesus, and I know from about 5th or 6th grade, I started doing serious prayer journaling, and have kept that up, not as much in the years of being a mom, I'm going to be honest, because I don't have the time that I used to have, but there have been some very, very difficult things I've gone through during my childhood and in my teen and preteen years, and Jesus was always there, always with me, and I am confident that without him, I would not have gotten through some of the things that I've been through. And I think, I don't know, I've always been a very spiritual person and been very driven towards those things. So yeah, I'm not sure. I know that that's nothing big or grand or amazing, but that's kind of my story. Now, if I did not answer that question correctly, please clarify below, and I'm happy to give you more information. So there was a question about book organization. I did just do a video about our library and how I keep all the books organized, and I will be sure to link that in the iCards. I don't know which side it's on, as well as the description box. This person asked for, well, I'll come back to that one, I think. Do you come from a homeschool background? Were you homeschooled growing up? No, I do not come from a homeschool background. I was not homeschooled growing up. I came from a household, my mom was a special education teacher. Most of my growing up, it was the K-2 age, although before I was born, she taught adults and other levels, and there at one point she was moved and started teaching 3rd and 4th and 5th and 6th as well. So kind of all the things, but most of my growing up, she taught special ed K through 2 in the public school system. And my dad would kind of, in my growing up, go back and forth from teaching English either at a high school level or a college level, and being an attorney. So he kind of, those were his two loves, and he said he could never pick one, so he would spend a few years doing one and then spend a few years doing the other, and back and forth. So I grew up with a lot of education in our home. When I was in kindergarten through 2nd grade, I went to the public school that my mom taught at. She wanted me to be close to her, and she knew the teachers there. She worked with them, so that is where I went. And then in 3rd grade, I moved to the private school near us, the school that was affiliated with our church. I went there through 8th grade. And then when we got to high school, the church also had a high school as well. And my parents let my sister and I pick if we wanted to go to the public high school or the private high school. They gave us the choice, and I chose to go to the private high school, and I went through high school there. So that is, and then I went to college after that. So that is, yeah, that is my education. But I grew up, because my mom taught in the public school system and I went to the private system, our breaks were not always at the same time. And so I was able to have a lot of opportunity to help out in her classroom a lot growing up, and I really, really, really enjoyed that. But that is my background. That is where I am. I have done a lot of tutoring. I love tutoring. Tutoring is where my heart is. I taught in a K-2 classroom before I had kids, but tutoring is really, I'm very much an introvert, and a lot of kids in a classroom for an extended period of time can be overwhelming. I could do great for a few hours, but a full day of school every day is overwhelming for me. But I really enjoy one-on-one, and small group is absolutely hands down my favorite. And yeah, that is where I come from. So the last question that I saved for the end is for nonfiction book recommendations for struggling readers ages 10 and plus, especially history like the Who Was series. So this question is really hard because I know nothing about the particular child. So it's very difficult to give suggestions, but I also don't know what the goals are for reading and all of that, but I can give some general suggestions. I have 5 things that I pulled here. And maybe something's helpful. If not, feel free to ask more questions below, and I'm happy to help you with that. So the first suggestion that I have is, please do not gloss over picture books. So you have picture books like this one. Let me see if I can open up to a good point. There are chapter books that are picture books. Picture books like this have so much good content in them. They're not as overwhelming for kids. Now, if you have a child who is dyslexic or struggles with a lot of words on the page, this may not work, but it's less intimidating for a child to pick up a picture book. And you guys, don't think that just because they have pictures in them that the information is less. See, this one does have chapters in it, so a child, even a 10-year-old, might not get through this in one setting. It might take a few times, but this is a good way to help kids build confidence. So just because a book is a picture book, it does not mean that it is just for little kids. And I have a son who is actually a really good reader, but he prefers to do picture books from time to time. Sometimes sitting down with the big chapter book is a lot, and sometimes he just wants a break and not have to be so committed. And so picture books can be really good for that. And like I said, you can learn so much from these. There she blows, folks. I was afraid that was going to happen. The camera fell, but now I have it. So this is another suggestion I have. This one happens to be from Usborne. Usborne has a lot of books like this, but there are other companies that have them, but they're dictionary type books about historical topics that kids can be interested in. The thing with these books is that they do not have to be read all at one setting. You don't have to read all the words that are there. You can just read the bits and pieces that are interesting that go with the pictures, and this can be super helpful. And like I said, you can definitely pick up a lot through these kinds of books, and you can get big thick ones, like really big thick ones with lots of information. You can get littler ones like this. There's some that are even smaller than this, but books like this, like I said, Usborne has a lot of these, DK has some of these, and there's a lot of them, but books like this really teach a child, again, without completely overwhelming them. Now, for some kids, these pages are too busy and overwhelming. Definitely, if that's an issue, don't go with something like this. But you can get books like this, like National Geographic has books like this sometimes that tend to have less on the page than what DK or Usborne will, but there's a lot of options out there, and so definitely you can use things like that. Another option is graphic novels. Time for Kids has graphic biographies. I know that there are other, this is actually not the book that I meant to pick up. I thought I picked up another one, but there are graphic novels. There are series of history novels, and I did a video fairly recently for books for reluctant readers, and I have a blog post that goes with that has even more information and links, and I'll be sure to post the blog post link in the comment below, in the description below, as well as I will link the video where I talked about that. But graphic novel biographies, graphic novel things like that, there are so many more. But sometimes these kinds of chapter books too, where the chapters are really short, and like this is extra information that doesn't have to be read, but this can be really helpful, and because there are the pictures, it really breaks up the reading and it's not so intimidating for kids. So these kinds of things, as well as graphic novels, like I said, there's some good series that I'll have linked in that post. I just grabbed the wrong book off my shelf. So this is kind of a step up from that. So if you have a child who's actually a strong reader and just doesn't really like reading, something like this could be a good option. This is a biography. This one is The Faithful Spy, about Dietrich Bonhoeffer and the plot to kill Hitler. This one is kind of, it's a mix of a lot of things, but there's more books I'm seeing like this. So you can see there is lots of color and lots of graphics on the pages. I wouldn't call this a graphic novel. It's really more like an illustrated biography, I guess. But it does have graphic novel elements all throughout of it. It has a few pages that are just entirely this graphic novel format, but it's mostly, yeah, it's mostly like just very highly illustrated pages, but you read it in order. This isn't something you would just read pieces from here or there. There's also a graphic novel series, what's it called? The first one is called One Dead Spy by Nathan Hale, and I might have linked the series in my blog post as well. I think the stories are written by Nathan Hale. They're graphic novels. They're a little intense for some kids, so you know what your kids like and what would be good. But that is definitely, these graphic novel type things are big and helpful. So this is a very unique category. So these books are fairly new, and this is the first one I've actually had in my hand. So this, I know you said nonfiction, and this kind of crosses the border over into fiction a little bit, but I thought I was going to include it anyway because it is such a cool concept. So this one is Escape This Book, Titanic. I know there's one on Egypt, and I think there might be more, and I think there's more coming, but this is so cool if you have a kid, especially who enjoys drawing. It's kind of like the You Choose books, because you do have options that you choose in here, and based on what you choose, you turn to different pages, and it's interactive in that way. But you're also doing a lot of drawing in the story. For example, I'll show you this. A lifeboat makes its way over to you, and its passengers pull you on board. Draw yourself on the lifeboat, happy to be safe. So you have this page, and you're going to draw yourself in the story. And there's other pages where you have different choices that you have to make, and you draw your choice, and based on the choice that you draw, you turn to a certain page in the story. For like this one, you're trying to get away from the master at arms, I guess, and so you're trying to decide which direction you need to go in. So you draw where you're going and what you're doing, and then based on that, you go to a certain point in the story. And this just really kind of covers the story of the Titanic, what it would have been like inside the ship, what it would have been like on there. You draw yourself in the story kind of to start it out, to really feel like you're part of what's going on. And there's quick challenges to get you started, and it's just a very interactive way to look at events of history. So definitely something to consider. Again, it leans a little more fiction, but it's not fiction in the sense of what you would traditionally think. So I don't know. Anyway, I have talked a lot. I have enjoyed chatting with you. I hope this kind of chatty Q&A format worked well for you guys. If you have any more questions, of course, feel free to leave them in the description box below. And I hope that you guys are having a great day. I'll talk to you later. Bye.